Hello friends, and welcome back to day 5, project 5 of the 7-day project challenge. So yesterday I showed you how to use the infusible ink sheets on a t-shirt, and today's project is actually going to be very similar. The only difference is I'm going to be using the Cricut Infusible Ink Markers instead of the sheets. And I will be putting that design on a 100% polyester baby blanket. I found this off of Amazon and thought it would be perfect for my cat's office chair right behind me. So we're going to decorate this baby blanket with the Cricut Infusible Ink Markers. Now, to switch things up a little bit, I will not be using my heat press. I'm only going to be using my Cricut Easy Press and a household iron, just to show you guys that you actually don't need a heat press to make this work. When I first started, I only used a house iron and I made it work. That's actually how I made this Alice in Wonderland blanket for my chair. So we are going back to my basics, kind of where I started. So if you want to see how I decorate this baby blanket with the Cricut Infusible Ink Markers, keep watching.
As far as designing goes, I wanted it to be super simple, but I wanted to use images like a paw print, a couple of cats, maybe even some cat toys, just very cat vibe for my lovely cat. So I did have to end up doing some alterations to the images. So like the paw print, I didn't want the words to show, so I hit all my contours and then selected all the toes so that it was just a straight paw print. For the images I chose with the cats, there were a bunch of them where parts of it were cut off, so I just went through and clicked all of those to make those go away. And I did want to be able to move the cats freely, so I just used a rectangle to slice the images so that they would be separate images. After I sliced it, I just deleted all of the gray parts, the gray square as well as the gray cat. Now, once I had all of my images altered the way I wanted, I selected all of them, went up to operation, and changed it from cut to pen. Then I just changed my pen to the 1mm marker in black. That's just what I chose to use for mine. And I did want a lot of mice and paw prints, so I selected both and duplicated them about 5 or 6 times. I can't quite remember. And I did think it would be super cool to have a paw print that was a different size, so I added another paw print, resized it, and duplicated that one a couple times as well. Now I was ready to hit make it. So once I hit make it, I did go through and mirror both of the mats so that I wouldn't forget to do it later, and then I just changed the material size to letter paper since I will be using regular copy paper for these to be drawn onto.
Alright, so I got everything set up in Design Space. So I am using regular, cheap copy paper. I get it from Walmart for like $3. Just be sure that you change the size on your material size like I did in Design Space. Now, I am going to be using the 1.0 marker size just so it fills in a little bit darker. So I'm just going to take one and put it in the Cricut so it's ready to go. Alright, so the pen actually goes here in slot A if you have an Explorer. So you just pop that open, put your pen in there, but you want to actually push it down till you hear it click. Like that. Then you just close the little door, put your mat in, and it will draw your outlines for you.
Be sure to use the infusible ink marker if you do have the Cricut draw your design.
Alright, so now I have all of the little outlines drawn, so I'm just going to go through, and I've already started on this one, and color in the parts that I want solid. This is the time-consuming part about using the infusible ink markers instead of the sheets. But if you have kids, great activity for them to help you out. So I'm just going to go through with my infusible ink markers and color all of these in until I have them the way that I want. One little tip I do have for when you are coloring these in with the infusible ink is the more ink that you actually get onto the paper, the less brush marks or stroke marks that you are going to see. Alright, so after about an hour of coloring, I did get them all filled in that I wanted filled in. So now I'm just going to cut them out. But what you have to be careful of, you can see it on this one. I tracked some ink around the paper from my hands. So I'm going to try to cut as much of that out as possible so it does not transfer to my blanket at all. That is one of the small downsides to going and coloring all of these in by hand. Alright, so we got all of the images cut now, and I have unpackaged my blanket, so I'm just going to lay it out. Oh, that's going to be perfect for her. Nice little size. And what I'm actually going to do first is I'm just going to kind of go over it with the lint roller, just to get off any extra, lint, hair, whatever there might be on it. Okay, so now that part is ready. So I'm actually going to work with half first and then work with the other half second. So I think this will work out great. So I have my iron, just my regular house iron, warming up on the hottest setting, which mine is linen. It does not have a temperature, so I just have it warming up on the hottest setting. My easy press is warming up to 400 degrees. So I'm just actually going to start kind of laying these down. Normally I would preheat this, but I just want to kind of figure out where everything's going to go first. So I'm just going to kind of lay everything out. Okay, that looks good to me. So now, I didn't preheat my Alice in Wonderland blanket, and that one came out really, really good. So I'm not going to preheat this. I'm just going to flip these little guys over right where they are at. And I am going to be using my painter's tape. Now, the trick with this, do not try to reuse the same piece of tape again. I ended up doing that with my Alice in Wonderland blanket, and I ended up with so many shadow spots because of that. The ink will transfer to your painter's tape, and it will shadow on the next image that you press, and it just does not look good. Alright, so now I've got it all taped down. So what I'm actually going to do is I have a large cutting board that I'm going to put in between my layers of blanket so that I can apply a little bit of pressure. That will just kind of help out a little bit so I don't melt my plastic desk. I say that because I've done it. I have a very warped desk now. So let's start with the easy press. So it is warmed up to 400 degrees. I'm also going to put a piece of butcher paper over top of, we're just going to use one, and do it over top of the whole thing. Alright, so now we are ready to go. So I'm going to start over on this side over here. Push this down just a tad. Okay, so that one will have to hit again. So I'm basically going to take this and I'm going to set it down. I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of pressure on it, not too much. I found that when you use like the irons or the easy press, the best thing to not do is to not move it, especially with the house iron. I got a ton of shadowing when I was trying to kind of iron it, and it just did not work out good at all. So I'm not exactly sure how long I'm going to press this for yet. I did 30 seconds first, and then we can kind of, let's see what that looks like. So that's actually coming through pretty good. So now because I've lifted this up, it might not be symmetrical. I'm going to take this and cut this off, or that ink will shadow on the rest of my blankets. So now I can just pull these off now, really, and you can see they came out super cute. I'm going to take this though, and I'm going to spin it. Now, because I peeled off these papers for these, you do want to make sure if any heat is going to be near these little prints to cover them as well so that it will not transfer onto your heat press. So I'm gonna have just a little extra piece of copy paper just to catch any of that ink that actually gets warmed up. So this time I'm actually going to use the house iron. So all I'm going to do is the same thing as the easy press. I'm just gonna set it down and just kind of press it. I can actually start that. Now, because the surface of the iron is so much smaller, you will have to press it for a bit longer than the 30 seconds. It might take a minute. It just kind of, the best way to tell is what ink is coming through on your transfer or your carrier sheet. So I just kind of played around with it until I was able to get a lot of that ink to kind of pull up. All right, so let's see what we got here. And it's coming through. That side needs just a little bit more. So I'm actually just going to take that and I'm just going to set this right where it needs to be pressed again. And then over here on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and put down my easy press. So I kind of got both going at once, really. Let's go ahead and peel this one. Look at how cute that is. That's so cute. I think I'm actually gonna try to fix this. I have 2 extra. I'm gonna see if I can't line them up. It's pretty good. So I'm gonna go for it. I think the biggest thing with using an easy press or even just a regular house iron is just be patient. Use as much copy paper or butcher paper as you need to not get the shadowing, because it really is very discouraging when you go through all this work to hand color in all your pictures and you end up with shadowing because you used the same tape, or you try not to use as much paper to try to save on those resources, and then you end up with a horrible, horrible shadowing. It's no fun. All right, so 1/2 done. So now I'm just going to flip it, repeat the same process on the other side. I am going to put a piece of butcher paper between my desk and this part, just so if it does get a little warm, that it won't actually transfer the ink to my desk. It will transfer it to a piece of butcher paper. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side, and I will show you when it is all finished. All right, so it is finished, and here is what it looks like. It is absolutely adorable. My cat is going to love this. But let's not take my word for it. Let's actually ask her what she thinks about it. So this here is Paz. This is my crafting buddy. She is up here with me every day, all day, until I wrap it up. So let's ask her what she thinks. Paz, what do you think? She's not sure about it yet, but I'm sure she will love it because it is one of those soft, almost silky, like super smooth blankets. I will put a link for it down in the description below. I did get it off of Amazon for like $7. So it would be perfect for a baby gift if you wanted to add some baby stuff to it, maybe a name. They had a few different colors to choose from. So yeah, that wraps up day 5, project 5 of the 7-day project challenge. We only have 2 more days left, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this gives you inspiration for the future.